Ah,
Morning, good morning, good morning. The broadcast has begun. And I got to tell you, folks, I am excited because we have October Man in the house. Now, for those who haven't been on the broadcast before, I'll explain that in just a moment. But I want to welcome you to the Wealth Warrior broadcast. Our mission, our goal, our aim is to change people's lives. And actually, the result is people's lives will be changed. Why will they be changed? First of all, because we will have an increased attitude that says we enjoy, have the right, want to pass something on, to live our lives, to live an incredible lifestyle, because we work diligently. What we want to help you to do here, though, is let's work smarter, not harder. Now, the operative word is we will work at whatever we're doing. You can see from the political forecasts that are going on right now down to our working generation. Everybody is working in some capacity. It just depends on what we're working on. What we want to work on are things that get us to the plateaus that we aspire to. Most of us that are on the broadcast are first generation wealth babies, and our mission is to pass it on from generation to generation. That's what our mission is about. However, we want to live our lives as well. With that being said, what I do want to do is share with you that we are both most excited. You already got a little look at him. We are most excited to have our esteemed eldersmen in the house. This gentleman is awesome. I met him, actually, we met several years ago. However, we started working together about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, but let's say a year ago. And what I have come to appreciate about him is that while his knowledge exudes, he doesn't throw it on us. He allows us to take it all in. So we take it in at the levels that we can enjoy it, and then we progress onward. He's written books, so he's an author, he's a lecturer, he's worked in corporate America, he has been self-employed, he has been over the spectrum, through the rainbow. And guess what? He's endured, because part of this process is you've got to be able to endure it. And now he is in another chapter of life that he is sharing with us. So I want to introduce to you the one and only, Mr. Robert H. Randolph. Mr. Randolph, are you in the house?
thank you, Brent. I hope I can live up to some of that, but I'm here and ready to go.
Excellent. You know, one of the things that I said in the description of what we would be talking about, the program description, is people have different views of mastermind. And when I talked to you about yours, it was trajectory. But for the most part, I want to start almost like from Genesis to Revelation about mastermind. When we think about a mastermind, the beginning thoughts is that we're bringing a group of people together. We're going to talk about something, and as a result, we have either some sort of destination, or we're bringing minds together, people that are heavy duty thinkers, for which in many instances we would say, well, we don't qualify for that because we are not, we don't have that brain power. So what I am looking at is this. What is that mastermind at its most simplest forms? What is mastermind?
That's a good question, Brent. And I don't know if you have read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
Which was published back in the 1930s. And it's a concept that he came up with as far back as the 1930s. And the idea is to get a group of people with common interests in, say, business, and have them support each other. So it's sort of a support group for business entrepreneurs, for example, if the topic is business. Bring them together in a supportive, committed way, and it's really important in your initial conversation. You said something about destination. It's very important to have a destination, and the destination usually is and should be a formal destination that says we're here to support each other in growing our businesses. So it is not a brainstorming session. It is not a conversation. It is a committed, formal conversation between peers seeking to advance each other in whatever area the topic is. I hope that makes sense. I rambled a little bit.
Well, yeah, it does make sense. Here's the deal. Why would somebody even really want to be bothered with a mastermind?
Well, the Napoleon Hill's original um, assignment, if you will, was given to him by Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was perhaps the richest man in the world, actually.
And considered the most brilliant. I do remember that, yes.
He just sold his company for $485 million back in 1937 or so. That time, you can imagine how much that was. A lot of money in those days.
That was a serious lot of money. If we translated that in today, holy smokes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So he gave Napoleon Hill the assignment of going around and interviewing the richest people in the world and finding out what they had in common. And what Napoleon Hill came back after he did his research is that none of the richest people in the world had done it by themselves. They had some kind of support group. Okay. And so his theory that he boiled it down to was that we can't and shouldn't try to do it by ourselves, but we should surround ourselves with people who can contribute their ideas and their expertise and so forth in adding to one's success. And that's the key.
Okay, so here's the question that I have, or the thought process. For masterminds occur on all levels, correct? So it could be the small business owner, it could be a large corporation. Am I right about that?
Well, I would like to take it out of the generalities of mastermind and just focus on a formal mastermind group, and would like to talk more about an example of a mastermind group. What happened is, I've seen over the years, is people take that word and they form some group, and something happens, or it may not happen. And so I think it's kind of, I think the idea of mastermind has been somewhat bastardized. It is probably the appropriate way of describing it. Mastermind group is a formal grouping of people. You hold each person accountable for their input, and you keep track of the time and so forth. So it has a formal structure if you're really serious about doing it. People get together in groups and they call that a mastermind, and it's much more than that, I think.
Okay.
That's the point I'd like to make.
Okay, appreciate that. The reason, Warriors, that I wanted, or I was really very enthusiastic when Bob agreed and said, yeah, I'll come on and I'll share with you what I'm doing, what's going on, is because in my thought process, one, we need people that we connect with on a space and a place that are result driven, are result oriented. That's one. Second, we are going to be, our minds are forging at a level and a place that needs and wants that camaraderie, and we've got to grow. Okay, we're wrapping up this first year, the warm and fuzzy year, if you will. We want to wrap this up right now with focus and direction so that we can create trajectory. Otherwise, all we're going to be doing is meeting and having a conversation. And that's not going to get us to the destination. So the things that we're dealing with now is so that we have trajectory. So last week when we spoke about the vision, we spoke about mission, vision, our thought processes, creating that vision board and the like. It was to get clear about where it is we want to go, what it is we want to do. Why will we be successful? What are the top 3 reasons that we will be successful? You know that I'm using some of the material from an incredible grouping that I came to a couple of weeks ago. Now we are fine-tuning it. And part of the fine-tune for a certain group of people is going to be a mastermind. And that's what Bob is taking us. We've gotten the foundation for it. But what I'm going to now have him share with you is the kind of intensity that a mastermind has and what the result of that should be. So we're going to start with the results first, and then we're going to work our way back. Bob, what should the results be of the mastermind that you are establishing?
Well, I think that has to really be determined by the group.
Okay.
But in establishing a mastermind group, what you want to do is you want to set a set of ground rules at the outset of the mastermind group. You want to come together periodically, and you want to hold people accountable for contributing their expertise and their advice to each other in the group and supporting the growth of each group member. And so it's really about what the group determines their destination to be. In general, it's about supporting people with their discussing their business problems, helping people find solutions to their business problems, and so forth. So it's basically about people growing through the synergy of being together.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I heard you say was ground rules. So, in other words, what I'm wanting to make sure that we make the distinction for our audience is that this is not a wiki conversation session. It is for a serious group of individuals that have, if you will, written plans that know where their organization should be going so that they have a result at the end. In other words, it's measurable. Would that be a correct assessment?
Oh, absolutely. The results should be measurable for each individual. However, the contributions might take any form from the individuals. But certainly people have to have a purpose and a destination in mind, or it doesn't make any sense for them to be in the group. In other words, it's supporting people in going where they want to go.
Okay, so this is not, let's say, for a newbie, or is this for an established entity? What in our audience, what people would be involved in a mastermind, the type of mastermind that you are speaking about?
Okay, I think
go ahead. Lay out the prerequisites for the mastermind that you are in the process of establishing. Go ahead and lay them out. We can take it.
It's not. I have a list, and the list is quite long. But I think one of the things for the mastermind group that I'm putting together is that I would ask people to apply to be a member of the group. Certainly, we want people who bring expertise to the table, that bring business experience, that bring know-how and communication skills, that bring commitment. There's that word again.
Wow, yes,
um,
it is.
to the table, and the commitment being to support each member of the group. And one of the terms that I run across is they're either generators or drainers. And it's up to the group, by the way, to discover who the drainers are and vote to take the drainers out of the group. So people have to earn their keep. And the way they earn their keep is by what they bring to the table in the form of support and advice and ideas for other people's success in the group. So in the group that I'm putting together, I will ask people, and I haven't worked out the final details of the application, but I will ask people to submit an application to be in the group as well as their resumes. And I kind of, in my infinite wisdom, I will ultimately select the group members that I think have the most synergy.
Wow. So this isn't a I'm just going to be in here because I choose to be in here. This is that we're going to work at what we're doing. We are going to almost like maybe an advisory group or a board of directors maybe would a synonymous.
You could think about it. You could think about it that way. But I think giving it that using that kind of analogy gives it the level of seriousness that I would like to convey. There will be a fee, so people will be there to get their money's worth. So I'm sure that'll help people.
It's interesting how that does move people. Yes, for sure. It causes them to have a different attitude about things. If I'm spending my money on it, then I'm going to be there. The end result for each business is one that it's measurable. Oh, there is a level of measure that they've grown as a result of this. I would suspect, obviously, we have relationships that will extend beyond the mastermind. How long is this mastermind program mastermind? Are we going to call it a program? Or are we going to call it a project? What is it that we should call it correctly?
We can call it a program. The program I'm putting together will last for 3 months.
Okay.
We will meet twice a month, and over the 3-month period. And then at the end of the 3 months, we can decide whether we want to take the group to the next level for another 3 months. But I'd like to think about it in 3-month segments.
Okay.
3 months is long enough to see some results, and it will be up to the group to decide whether they want to extend, whether they're getting enough value. And the operational word is value out of the group. Certainly, we will be assessing that all along the way, but the 3-month milestone will be to formally assess that and see where we want to go. So it'll be a group decision.
Bob, what type of businesses would be best served by a mastermind? If a person's thinking about and saying, okay, you know what, I really see, right, based on the conversation, I see value, I get it, I understand that it's going to help with my trajectory, it's going to make me accountable to not just to myself, but to another grouping of individuals, it's going to make me accountable to colleagues. So tell me about that, please.
Well, I don't think, and I'm not sure, but from what I see and my experience of this, is that I think just about any kind of small business could participate. Any type of small business owner could participate in a mastermind group.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had a burning question
okay.
And that is, when you say small business, how many employees are we basing it on the number of employees, or what would we, so that people know whether they fit into that kind of group?
Well, that's a good question. I throw out the term small business. Typically a small business is somewhere under 100 employees. Then we could talk about it in terms of revenue. I would say under $1 million revenue and under 100 people. That's a very good question.
What I like about what you just said, that answer is so great, because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, folks, I want us to look at dollars. Bob said under $1 million. It just rolled right off of his mouth so smoothly, and I loved it, because this is the state of mind that we need to be in. It just should just roll off of our tongues. In fact, I'll tell you what, I can count large numbers much better. When it comes to small numbers, I don't know, I start using my fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm saying, I don't understand this. I could start talking $500 million and it just rolls off the mouth, and it's easy to add those numbers up. Let me break it down under 10, and I'm going 1, 2, 3 on my fingers. So as I looked at that, Bob, I thought, oh, folks, hear what we're talking about. We're talking, under $1 million, under 100 employees. That would be a small business. So would the solopreneur, Bob, benefit from being part of a mastermind?
Yes, because I think they have to get the message that they can no longer operate as a solopreneur. So that would be part of it, and certainly that would certainly be part of the discussion.
Okay, so you're saying the solopreneur, if in fact the solopreneur wants to create that residual income, wants to create that legacy, it is very tough to create that by yourself. Is that what I'm getting? Is that what I'm hearing, Bob?
Not only that, but I think I've mentioned this to you before. Solopreneur is a dangerous place to be in terms of protecting your assets.
Tell us about the danger of a solopreneur, please. I think the audience would like to hear that.
Well, I did some work not too long ago in focused on structuring one's business. Okay. And in doing that research, one of the really frightening things I discovered is that if you're operating your business as a solopreneur, you have a great deal of exposure, and your assets, every time you do business or every time somebody does business with you, or you are open to losing all of your assets through some kind of suit or so forth. And so when you do business as a solopreneur, all of your personal assets are involved in your business and are part of your business liability. And in the kind of environment that we live in, where people will sue at the drop of a hat, you really are exposed. Unless you have some kind of corporate shell to protect your assets, you're in serious trouble. So, bit of advice: if you're operating as an entrepreneur and you're trying to do business, I would suggest that you find an attorney someplace and create some kind of corporate shell to protect your assets. It's that simple.
No, Bob, that wasn't that simple. That was like huge. Like, whoa. We are not attempting to frighten anyone. However, we are being categorically serious that as a solopreneur, exposure. There is great exposure. There is good exposure, and there is exposure that you just do not want to have. Your assets are something you do not want to have exposed. You want them surrounded, and there are people that help with that. So there are a lot of balls in the air as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, and I'm going to suspect that everyone that is watching today's broadcast, that is part of the Wealth Warrior broadcast, is likely a small business owner, an entrepreneur a budding entrepreneur, somebody that is doing exactly what Jim Rohn said, and that is they are working their full-time job while they're building their part-time fortune. And in that regard, you need more protection. You need to really know where all the balls are at, because it is pivotal. And I'm going to suspect that that's part and parcel. Oh no, I'm not going to suspect. Bob, in that mastermind group that you're putting together, or the mastermind series that you're putting together, do you delve into the basics, or do you leave it up to the individuals while you deal on a higher level? Is there a basics, or will that be handled through the application process?
Yes, and yes, and yes. Right
Okay.
now, I'm thinking about people who have established businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and people who are interested primarily in growing their businesses,
Okay.
not people who are starting up. It is not a training situation.
No, oh no, clearly, Bob. But you know what I have noted is that many of us that start our business somewhere along the line, we're in the throes of the business, and some of the fundamentals didn't get handled. And so this may not be, if you say, hey, no, that's too basic, Brent, they need to resolve that before they come here. What I do suspect is a lot of individuals start those businesses and forget to take care of those kind of things because they're in the thorough of growing their business. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's fine and dandy. I don't have a problem with that. They're
But you got to
probably
resolve that problem on your own. Okay, I got it.
they're probably not candidates for the level of mastermind group I have in mind here.
Okay.
You know, I think it's a question. I did some work with my brother who has a landscape business in Kansas City, Missouri, and I worked with him a couple of times, and actually I went out and camped out in Kansas City, Missouri for a couple of months, and what I found out was that he has an established business, but he wasn't really willing to make the change that was necessary to grow his business beyond where he was.
Tell
And
us about that, Bob. When you say he wasn't willing to make the change, what wasn't he
well,
willing?
I spent 2 months with him building sort of a structure to support a $4 or $5 million business, and he's making about $1 million a year. And so my plan was to take him from 1 million to 4 or 5 million. And when I suggested the changes, as simple as changes to his business card, he resisted doing that and he wouldn't do it. So then
Wow.
I realized after the effort that we both put in that fundamentally he was not ready to grow.
Bob, would you say then, and I'm hearing some clear definitions, and that is, if a person hasn't gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 squared away, then their ability to focus in on the level that you are talking about, taking them from point B through trajectory, if they haven't done A to B yet, is not going to be as beneficial. In fact, it won't, well, I wouldn't say it won't be beneficial, but it's almost as if they won't be able to keep up with the rest of the group. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
They probably won't be able to contribute to the rest of the group.
Powerful word. They won't be able to add to it. And you've got to be a party that's adding to it, that's adding
Yes.
dimension. Okay.
That's the real point of a formal mastermind group. And people can't, I mean, that's another group. There would be a mastermind. There's probably somewhere there's a mastermind group for startup people, and that's a whole nother dimension. And perhaps at some point in time I will do a group a mastermind group for startup people. But I think the group that I have in mind in launching in the next month or so is a group of people that have gotten through the startup phase and they're interested in growth.
Okay. Okay. I hear that loud and clear. You know, for everybody that has heard me talk about the bell curve, we have the form, and there is the storm. So, Bob, what I think I hear you saying is the folks that you're talking about have already been through the storm, and so they are now able to perform. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, this is a group that's oriented toward growth. And if you're at zero, there is some growth possible, but it's pretty obvious what you have to do to grow. You don't need
Okay.
a mastermind to tell you how to get from 0 to 1.
Sorry, that was good. Okay. There is no disrespect intended to anybody that's watching the broadcast today. It is.
No, absolutely not.
Yes, we are.
As I said,
Go ahead, Bob.
that's a group unto itself, and the conversation and the contribution that people can make in that group is very valuable. And so, not to slight anyone, that's if you numbered the groups, it's group 101.
Okay.
I'm talking about group at level 3 or something.
Oh, okay. So group 301. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, bear with me, Bob, just a moment. We're going to just take a short one and ask all of our audience participants, ask all of the warriors. Let somebody know what we're talking about today. Want to take a few moments, want to go up and tweet out and let folks on Twitter know, let folks on LinkedIn know, let folks on Facebook know, because we are, of course, here on Facebook. Want to let people know that there's some good stuff going on here. Well, we're talking about not the everyday. That's right. It's not the everyday. It's not the common, ordinary variety, and nothing wrong with that. However, we're getting specific. We're honing in on the skill set that is needed to be a wealth warrior, to be able to pass it on from generation to generation. So here's the deal. I want everybody to hit the keyboards. That's right. Take the fingers, put them on the keyboards, and we want to go to Twitter. And we want to say on Twitter, join us now on Wealth Warrior Broadcast. That's right. So go ahead and type it up. Join us now on the Wealth Warrior Broadcast. Join us now on the Wealth Warrior Broadcast, and we're going to do a flash mob. You remember I got that flash mob. I got to give Shay Brown and Trevor Otts their props, because that's where that comes from. We're going to do a flash mob, and it's going to be on Twitter. We're going to do it now. So has everybody typed it up? You know what the sentence is. Join us. The operative word is now. Join us now on the Wealth Warrior Broadcast. So on the count of 3, being 1, 2, and 3, at 3, we're just going to hit the enter button. Everybody on Twitter should be invited. 1, 2, 3, hit it, flash mob! Absolutely. Get everybody here. They want to hear this good stuff. They want to hear this good stuff. So before we have Bob go on, let me do a little recap of what we've been talking about thus far. We're talking about something called mastermind. That term, that word actually means different things to different people. And what our guest, October Man, Robert H. Randolph, is talking about is if there's a 101 or 201 or 301, we're talking about a 301 level of activity. It's for a small, more than likely, it's going to be a small business. And we hit a number. We said a small business is $1 million or less, 100 employees or less. That is well beyond that startup stage. They've already crossed the T's, they've dotted the I's. And now they need to go to a place called growth. So they've already gone through the form stage of the bell curve. They've gone through the storm stage. They are now ready to perform. That's what we're talking about. And so, without further ado, we're going to invite Robert back to us to talk some more about his vision for an ultimate mastermind at the place that he is starting them from. Bob, the floor is
All
yours.
right.
So talk to us about that. What the total vision of the mastermind that you are talking about?
Well, I think we've pretty much hit it. It's a group of small business owners who are willing to commit to 2 sessions a month over the next 3 months to communicate with each other. We'll probably set up a private group on Facebook so that communications can be maintained in between sessions. It will probably be done via Skype rather than Google Hangouts. You know how I feel about Google Hangouts. I think Skype is much more reliable, so we'll probably communicate or hold a group sessions via Skype, and then we will interact with each other's. And
How many people are going to be in this this 301 mastermind, Bob?
I'm the target number is 10 people. I don't think we want the group to be any larger than that, and probably it doesn't make sense to have it be any smaller than that.
They're going to be homework assignments. Are we going to feel like we're back in school?
No.
Okay.
There may be, there may not. I think that depends on the group, but I don't see this as a homework assignment. I see us giving our advice, and again, it's not training. It's supporting people in doing what they are probably going to do anyway. So, no, it's not. It's not about homework. There's nobody to grade the homework.
And you're not going to be the one to grade the homework.
No, I'm not going to grade the homework. I'm a facilitator. I'm not. I'm going to facilitate the process. By the way, my role is going to be that of a facilitator as well as a contributor. So I have some small business projects that I'm working on, and so it's not going to be me telling anybody anything. It's going to be the group participating and sharing and presenting their problems and seeking solutions. So,
and with this, I'm trying to figure out whether I call it the word exciting, because I see this as an exciting tool for the business, for a person that's at that place where this makes sense. What makes this exciting, or what makes a person want to go into a mastermind?
what makes a person?
Yeah, what makes a person want to go into a mastermind? What that hears what you're saying and says, "Yeah, this is the right thing for me." What makes them want to do this? Because in some respects, some people could say, "Man, that sounds like another job." Instead
Well,
of,
I don't know. I think these
I
are
guess that would be the
people.
person that wouldn't be in there, right? If they saw it as another job and not an asset, then they definitely, this isn't for them.
Yeah, right. For exactly. No, I think that people have to self-select in a certain sense. I mean, they have to be people that feel that they are struggling with some business problem. They need the support of others. They're willing to contribute to the support of others. Uh, I think it's a self-selection process in a way, independent of the application process. Um, People have to want to grow their business. It can't be more basic than that. And they feel that something is missing in their efforts to grow their business, and they're open to support. They're
You
coachable.
know, you just made a powerful statement. There are folks that would say, why wouldn't I want to grow my business? I mean, that's the idea. I got into business so I could grow it. But the reality is, there are some people that do, in fact, not want to make that happen. And I remember a gentleman who has since passed, but Dan Dennis and I had a conversation years and years ago, and some of our audience may remember this gentleman. I owned an accounting firm and one of a very notable accounting firm. And I remember having a conversation with him, and he said, I don't want to grow it more than it is. I'm glad with this. I'm comfortable with this. I don't want to grow it anymore. And I was so flabbergasted that somebody would say they don't want more. And it struck me. So as you pointed that out, they've got to want to grow. When you dealt with your brother, did he want to grow his business? I
Uh,
know you spoke about the
After our conversations,
yeah.
excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off, but after our conversations, we both agreed he didn't want to grow his business. He's got a
Ah,
nice, comfortable little business. He knows all the parameters of his business. He goes out and he works at it every day. And, the idea of taking on more, I was going to use the word responsibility, but more stuff to
okay,
earn
stop.
that extra few $1,000,000 did not appeal to him. So we both discovered that, and so as a result of that, that was it was it was about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
We don't talk about that anymore, and he's happy doing what he's doing, and certainly there are people that and I was involved in a business. I was vice president of marketing sales for a business that I thought wanted to grow. And after being there for a couple of years, I realized that the owner of the business didn't really want to grow. And he was content. His wife worked in the business. The business provided him 2 cars, and he was making a certain level of income, and he just was happy. He was satisfied, and that's fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's a great place to be if you can get there. However, if on the other hand, as you say, you want more, you want to grow, you think it's important for whatever reason to grow, then you should go out and do what it takes to grow.
I liked you said a very powerful thing there too. If you want to grow, so we need to really assess as we're looking at our businesses, and this is to all of us that are watching the broadcast. Right now, we're talking about businesses. Why? Because we know that owning a business, and I've said it and I'll keep saying it, owning a business is one of the foundation, one of the pillars of wealth. When
Yes.
if you, thank you, Bob. It is a key fundamental. I promise you, you are not going to get wealthy on your job. Bob, am I right about that?
Absolutely. The only person that's going to be wealthy is the owner.
Yeah, thank you. So if you want to be wealthy, what must you do? You must own it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you
Exactly.
when you stop and you think about that, folks, we really have to assess if in fact we want to grow and we're willing to do what it takes to grow. Bob, can you speak about that just in generalities in terms of what a person needs to think about and as they're looking at that, yes, I want to grow because it seems like it's the right thing to do?
Yeah, well, I, I think yes. I think I, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it goes back to commitment, and it goes back to what is it that you are committed to being, doing, and having. And
Mhm.
once you are squared away on what you're committed to being, doing, and having, then you can begin to deal with how you get there. And that's the fundamental piece. And there are all kinds of things you can do. You can set goals, you can set milestones, you can, I'm a big proponent of planning. You can plan your way there, and you start taking the action that's necessary.
Okay. At the end of the day, you've got to make a decision. And a lot of times we do not make a decision. I think that fits into what you said, Bob, in terms of planning, is we've got to make the decision, if you will. We can start with the result in mind, but we need to know what the result is that we actually want.
Exactly.
Sometimes we get into it and we go, oh, this is a lot more, and I appreciate your example of your brother, Bob. If we can go just a little bit deeper into that, the things that I know you spoke about, the business card was one of the things that, without giving too much detail, you spoke about the business card as being one of the things. Can you share a couple of other things that made that distinction, that said, this is what I'm going to have to do in order to grow this to that 3 or 4 million?
Sure. His wife is the office person, for example.
Okay.
And she is working practically 24 hours a day. And they need some employees. And he needed to hire 1 or 2 extra people into his business. And he could not find the right person, no matter how he tried. He could not even conceive of the right person.
Oh.
So we could not even write a job description. So it's those kinds of things, taking on employees, spending more money on office equipment. It just goes on and on. If you're going to expand the business, you need to expand your tools. And no, that's too costly.
However, we're going to have customers. So if we're going to have customers, those customers are going to pay for services. Ergo, we should be able to afford that. Does that become an issue also? Is either seeking out the customers, or if the customers are available, servicing the customers, did that become an issue?
No, he has he has a good handle on that. That's primarily what he does, is services the customers, and customers are lined up because he's the only game in town. As a minority contractor, he gets set aside business and all that stuff. So he's kind of got a gold mine there, and yet he doesn't want to take complete advantage of it, and it's fine. I mean, and it's fine.
Right. And the reason I asked Bob to share that with us is because it goes back to owning the business. It goes back to, what do you want? And I like what Bob had brought out, is having. Oftentimes when we're thinking through that next place that we want to go to, and the question comes up, what do you want? What I find ever so fascinating is we can tell somebody the whole litany of what we don't want, but that wasn't the question. The question was, what do you want? And it's such a simple question. And we hum and what do you want?
Yes, exactly.
Would you say, Bob, that's a pretty powerful one?
Exactly. Yes. As a matter of fact, in some of my work, I have a workshop that's designed around the idea of discovering what it is that you want, because people have a tough time with that, for sure. And I mean, On the surface, it's like there's a lot of surface stuff like, I want more money. Well, yeah, okay. Everybody wants more money. Now, what do you want? And it goes on and on.
So if we put the list up there, money, okay, now what do you want? After about 10, people kind of worn out. They can't think of what they want anymore.
It's hard to get to 10, I've discovered.
Now that's an exercise. Okay, that is an exercise because actually, if you put money at the top, pretty much a number of things below that are going to be the manifestation of what money allows them to do. Yes.
Sometimes they get to that.
Okay.
Not always.
Not always. As I'm thinking it through, Bob, I'm going in my mind right now and I'm going, okay, money. Well, if you put cars down there, well, cars are actually the manifestation of the money that you have. Can I make the distinction or does it have to be something else? All right, you have money, good health. Well, then that money is not the manifestation of good health. So I could see, no, I don't think I'm going to get to 10 very easily.
Try it sometime.
I already see that. I'm telling you, mastermind. What Bob has given us is a significant distinction from what people generally think of a mastermind versus where he is talking about a need, a place to go. Now, Bob is structuring a program, he's structuring a series, he's structuring a project that is for the caliber of where a lot of us actually should want to go and be at when we're talking about being a wealth warrior. We're making a distinction between people that are starting up that 101, which is great and fine. That's not what he's talking about, but there is a place for that. And it does mean that you are serious about becoming a warrior. Warrior is a huge word. You are serious about being a warrior. You are willing to fight for what it is that you want. Would you say that right, Bob? If you're willing to fight for it. Because sometimes it is a dogfight.
Yes. I'd also like to add one more thing, and that is that in terms of my background, I guess, I see a series of mastermind groups over the next few years that I will be launching. Some of them, for the list that I put together, I will do some groups on marketing. I will do some groups on training if people are interested in becoming trainers. I will do some groups on management and what it means to be a manager. So I'm starting out with business as our initial mastermind group, and then we'll extend it from there. So I just wanted to put in that note, that there are other possible topics that we could address in a mastermind group.
Fantastic. Is this a necessity, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is. I am so enthusiastic that Bob is going to put this together. No, it's put together. It's going to be launched. So,
yes.
And the reason why that's important is because we do need to grow. And remembering that Think and Grow Rich, there was the point. Think so that you can grow it. And oftentimes we can't think. When we think by ourselves, yes, we're minimizing where we need to be at. Some others will help stretch us to the next place that we need to be. Bob, we're wrapping up. Tell us how people can get in contact with you. Give us an idea of when you're launching, or at least how they get in contact with you regarding the mastermind. Please go right ahead.
Yes. I'm on Facebook at Randolph Associates. You can contact me via that. You can also email me at Randolph, RANDASSOCS at gmail.com. I don't know, we don't have a graphic or anything, but again, that's RANDASSOCS at gmail.com, Rand Associates. You can email me there. If you want to pick up the phone and give me a call, I'm at area code 508-450-4781. Again, it's 508-450-4781. That's my cell number. And the date I have in mind for launch, actually, doing the first session of this business focus group is April 1.
And that ain't no Fool's Day, by the way, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
that's no Fool's Day. I haven't looked at the calendar. I'm going to have to look at the calendar again, but April 1 or thereabouts.
Fantastic. So we know it's starting in April, which is incredible because that is the anniversary month of the Wealth Warriors. So, wow.
Oh,
Right on.
okay.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It fits right in. Well, Bob, I'll tell you what, I'm going to very definitely post this in the feed. I want to thank you beyond all words for being back with us, for bringing a topic that is very rarely discussed with the greater populace. And you've brought it at a level that is beyond the 101. You're saying we've got to grow to the 301, and you're giving it a place, because I am certain that people were looking for that place. They knew they weren't the 101s, but where were they going to find this piece? And more often than not, when it comes to a mastermind like this, it is generally the cost factor in many instances can make it prohibitive. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please do not misunderstand that. There is a cost that is associated with this. And as my mother often says, and many of my friends hear me quote her, and that is, every education does cost. With that being said, I want to again thank Bob for being with us. It was a topic that needed to be discussed. It fits in with wealth. I want to encourage everybody to do something today, and that is, I want to encourage you to go out and be absolutely extraordinary. We'll see you next week. Take care now.
Thank you, Brent.
You are so welcome.